Hey guys, so today, if the camera will work with me here, we are going to go through the new deck that I just built literally yesterday with one of the new legendary creatures from Crimson Vow. I bought a box of, I guess they're called draft boosters now, the original 15 card boosters instead of set boosters, which I don't like. Because you only get 12 cards. I know one of them's from the list, but if you watch Delirium Community College, you know the list is kind of peppered with some garbage. So, this time, because last time I ordered from my local game store, and unfortunately they were only selling boxes of the set boosters, so I had to do what I don't normally like to do, which is order off Amazon, because they had the draft booster boxes. So I ordered one of those and got it on Saturday night. Was it? No, it was Friday night. And so I opened that when I had time in between family stuff, which is a little hard to do because everybody was running around and yelling. And finally got to go through everything and sort it out by color. And this legendary was just, I already kind of wanted to make a vampire deck with the new Edgar Markov Dracula cards, and I did get the Edgar Markov Dracula box topper. But when I found this commander, I was just more excited to build this deck than the Markov one, so I went ahead and did that. So let's see here. I'm gonna try to do this so that's on the camera and you can actually read the cards. So the commander that I'm using on this deck is Tauren's Fist of the Angels. One white, one green, and one any color for a 2/2 human cleric. He has training, which is a new keyword in this set. And basically what training does is when you attack with this creature and one other creature that has higher power, this creature gets a 1/1 counter. So, if you declare that Torrens here is attacking, along with like a Sarah Angel who's a 4/4, Torrens would get a 1/1 counter as he goes into battle. And the big part of this particular card is whenever you cast a creature spell, you get to create a 1/1 green and white human soldier creature token with training. So my goal here was to basically make almost a all creatures deck where Torrens is basically pumping out these 1/1 green and white human soldiers that can then attack with other creatures and pump themselves. So this deck has about 9 or 10 non-creature spells, and the rest is just trying to get an army of training creatures. So a few of the cards that I have in here that aren't in creatures, I have the Behemoth Sledge. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has lifelink and trample. I believe this was from the Commander Cat deck that they released a couple years ago, where it was all cats, and I have a Balan deck with one of those creatures, and I've always wanted to build a green and white deck. I just haven't had a commander that I thought was worthy of it, so this was my chance. I have a Johnny the Great-Hearted, which gives all my creatures vigilance. His +1 is to gain 3 life, which is always handy. And the -2 is put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control, and a loyalty counter on each other planeswalker you control. So you can do his -2 first thing, because he's got 5 loyalty to start out with. So realistically, he hits the board for 4, and you can immediately put a 1/1 counter on each of your creatures. So along with, training all my creatures up, I have a good amount of cards here that just, make the counters explode, hopefully. We have Visions of Glory, which is create a 1/1 white human creature token for each creature you control. So I'm thinking this would be a late game, you know, if I've made 25 or more tokens with training with Tauren and they've slowly built up, then I can play this for 5 and have double the amount of creatures, and then you can actually flashback this, and it costs X less for the value of your commander. So for 5, 6, 7, I can cast this again and basically, you know, double the amount of creatures I control in 2 fell swoops there. You know, and then you negative to Ajani and give everybody, you know, all those 1/1 humans or 2/2s. Always Watching for 3. This is a enchantment that gives all your non-token creatures get +1/+1 and have vigilance. So that's helpful if there are not of, you know, since Tauren's wants creatures entering the battlefield, you know, having non-tokens creatures get a +1/+1 and vigilance was helpful. We have Gift of Immortality, which is an enchant creature that basically, if the creature would die, they come back under your control, and then Gift of Immortality comes back to the battlefield attached to that creature at the beginning of the next end step. So basically, by the end of your turn, the creature is back. So, you know, it says here, when an enchant creature dies, return the card to the battlefield under its owner's control. I guess your opponents could try to kill it before your end step, but I'm thinking most people would just finish out their turn and, you know, they have basically you know, just a finite amount of time to deal with the creature before Gift of Immortality hits. This is intangible for Chew for 2, and this is basically the opposite of the Always Watching for 1 less, and it gives all your creature tokens +1/+1 and vigilance. So basically, with those 2 cards out, you spend 5 mana to give everybody on the board +1/+1 and vigilance, and, you know, hopefully I am just pumping out creatures like a crazy person. I have 1 ramp card. This is a new one from Crimson Vow. So it's Cartographer's Survey. I'm sorry, the camera's not zooming in on this foil as well as it should. There we go. So it says, look at the top 7 cards of your library. Put up to 2 lands from among them on the battlefield tapped. Put the rest on the bottom in random order. So if you got this out early enough, obviously this can come out turn 4, maybe a little sooner because I have like 2 or 3 mana dorks. You can update your, you know, get a couple lands out there early enough to maybe help out. Next up, we have Venomous Fangs. I have this in here for 1 particular creature. I have the Nessian Boar, which is a 10/6 creature for, I believe, 4. And every creature, when he attacks, every creature able to block him has to. So I plan on putting Venomous Fangs on him, and then when he attacks, basically everybody in my deck is going to train, if they have training, because he's a 10/6. And then, since everybody on the opposing field that's able to will have to block, I will be able to basically pick and choose where the damage goes and kill off whatever I want to on the other board there. So it's almost like putting, you know, lure on something with Death Touch. But since Nessian Boar is, you know, 10 power, you know, I could say 1 damage for all 10 of these guys and basically clear out an opposing board. So that's my plan there. This one I wasn't sure if I was going to keep it in, but I decided to. It's the Growing Rights of Limok. I think that's how you'd say it. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You get to reveal a creature and put it into your hand. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 4 or more creatures, which obviously I would with this deck, you transform it, and it becomes this legendary land, which you can tap for 1 green, or you can tap for 1 green for each creature you control. So I'm hoping to get this out early, and then it would ramp like a mofo. This deck does tend more in towards white than green, but even then, having a certain amount of just green that I can use towards colorless costs would be, if you only need 1 plains for half the things in your hand, and then you have unlimited almost green, then it's worth it. This isn't oldie but goodie, which I like playing in Commander, because my play group is, we have like 1 or 2 players that have been playing forever like myself, and then we have a couple new guys that have only been playing for a few years, so they go back maybe to Agoria. But this alpha status, for 3, it's an enchant creature, and enchanted creature gets +2/+2 for each other creature in play that shares a creature type with it. So obviously I would be probably putting this on Torrens himself, because he's a human, and then all those humans that he is pumping out would give him +2/+2 for each of them. So that could get out of hand, which is what I want. Pledge of Unity for 3. It's basically the Ajani -2, but on a card. So it's put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control, and then you also gain 1 life for each creature you control. So late game, if I could pump the entire army all at once, and then also gain some life to survive any backswings if I didn't have vigilance, that would be totally worth it for a 3-drop. A oldie but goodie from, I believe, Shadowmoor. Shield of the Oversoul. As long as enchanted creature is green, it gets +1/+1 and is indestructible. And as long as it's white, it gets +1/+1 and has flying. So I do mostly have, most of the creatures in this deck are both green and white. So I can put this on Torrens just to make sure that he doesn't get messed with. Obviously, he'd still be open to exiling, but, making him indestructible and giving him +2/+2 and flying would be, he'd be a 4/4 flyer with indestructible, and he'd be your commander. So along with all the other pumps, that plus just 1 of those +1/+1, pretty sure he'd be a 5/5 vigilance with just 1 or 2 other cards on the board. This is Collective Blessing, which is just a simple 6-drop for creatures you control get +3/+3. So again, late game, if I have enough creatures out, this would just make everything, even if they hadn't trained up, which I plan on basically swinging with people every turn, even if they hadn't trained up by attacking, they'd immediately be 4/4s upon hitting the battlefield. Let's see, I have about 4 more non-creature cards. Actually, I have more than I thought. This is Armadillo Cloak, and this gives the enchanted creature +2/+2 and trample and lifelink, which I thought would just be good on some of the white and green creatures I have in here. It's always good to have trample so that you can get around blockers. Our most recent game night, the guy who won, basically, he had some sort of death beetle, which he's played once or twice. He basically just plays precons. He has like 1 deck that he had built for him, which he's lost with every single week. Sorry, I'm a little parched. But he has a Damia deck, which basically just lets you draw a bunch of cards. And I swear the guy that built it for him, he's in our play group too, and he likes to win. I think he screwed him. Because whenever he's played Damia like 8 or 9 times, like last week he was like, I'll play Damia until I'm gonna win. And he played 3 games with her, and we killed him every time. And then this week he said the same thing, and then he switched decks after the first game. But anyways, he was playing this death beetle that gets, when he comes out onto the battlefield, he gets all of the, basically any ability in the graveyard on a creature, he gets it. So this guy was coming out with Indestructible and Double Strike and all this other crazy stuff, you know, because early on he had kind of tried to, he kind of mulched and thrown some stuff in the graveyard, and one of them had to be a god card with Indestructible. So he had these Indestructible flying Double Strike things, and he only had two of them. Like, he had one other creature that did the same type of thing, but having Indestructible creatures where you couldn't get any damage over their heads, and I think they all had lifelink too. You know, even when we had 5 creatures, he, you know, killed 3, lifelink up, and it wouldn't be worth. We were basically just stalemated. This is Sigil of the Nyan Gods. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each creature you control. And it's only a 3-drop, so again, putting this on anybody with the with an army building commander, I thought was a good thing, and it's got cycling just in case. You know, in case that's not going to help me out, I can cycle it. Mercy killing is basically